So hey, do me a favor before I get into the conversation of what I want to talk about. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. So do that for me if you would, please. I'm gonna give you some free content, you might say. I want to talk to you about owning a used car department. You might think, well, I do own my used car department. I'm the dealer. I own the whole damn dealership. And by the way, I don't usually use profanity. I really have prided myself, especially in my workshops and speaking gigs, conventions, whatever, of never using any profanity. I mean, I don't even use the word shit. You know, I don't use any profanity. But you ain't paying me to do this, and and you're tuning in, so you get what you get. So I may use a little profanity, and I've learned it well. I was in the Marine Corps, you understand that? And so we have a whole different vocabulary in the Marine Corps. But one of the great things about being in the Marine Corps, which applies to your business, is having great discipline. So I have the discipline to use it when I want to and not use it when I should not, or something like that, right? Okay, so let's get into today's subject about you owning a used car department. I want to dig deep into that. Now, in a lot of dealerships, what I see sometimes, they'll say, well, the desk manager's in charge of used cars, or the new car manager, kind of handles that, or we have a sales manager that does that. But the general sales manager does it, or I do it. I'm the dealer. Well, none of those things are really very good. Nobody really owns it when it's kind of out there. And you might say, well, we don't have a dedicated used car manager or inventory manager, whatever you want to call it. We don't have one of those because we really can't afford it. We only stock about 40 or 50 cars a month, and we're selling 25 or 30, and well, no wonder you're only selling 25 or 30 because you don't have a used car manager. But so we really can't justify a used car manager. But I want to give you a different way of thinking about this for just a moment. Number one, my question to you would be, do you have a parts manager? I bet the answer is yes to that, right? So if you think about, in most dealerships, and this is really a small number, most dealerships have at least $1 million tied up in used cars. That would be a number that gets there really quick with the price of today's cars, right? But in the parts department, if you have $1 million tied up in used cars, you're a smaller dealer like that. If you have that much tied up in used cars, you probably have, I don't know, $250,000 or so in parts. But you have a parts manager managing a lot less inventory than a used car manager does. I mean, I want you to really kind of twist on it for me. I mean, in the parts department, excuse me, I'm getting a little shot of caffeine there. In the parts department, you have parts that you probably have something in that's $1, and you have other parts in there that I don't know I wonder what the most expensive part is in a parts department. Maybe an engine or something like that. Yeah, engine transmission might be sitting around back there. Lord. But anyway, but in used cars, we have individual cars that we have $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in them. But we have a parts manager that is closely monitoring our parts inventory. How many turns are we getting a month? The fast movers, the slow movers. We have obsolete parts that we really keep a close eye on. We have someone really zeroed in on all these little things that are so important to making money in the parts department. But we don't have anybody doing that in used cars, and we have so much more money tied up in used cars. Show me how that makes any sense. It doesn't make a lick of sense. Look, until you put somebody in charge, and that would be you, by the way. So if you're the dealer of the GM, you should always be in charge of the used car department, always. Now, you need someone running it on a daily basis, but you need to be on top of every moment of that. What I'm about to say is true. The used car department drives the entire dealership. And you as a dealer, there's no department that you can spend more of your time in that's more beneficial than that. So put someone in charge of it. Pick somebody that's relatively new to the business and train them. Please, unless you're just totally desperate, don't go out and hire somebody else's used car manager. Dear God. I mean, every time a used car manager leaves a dealership, not every time, but 99.9%, let's be real, but every time they leave that dealership they were at, what do they leave? A damn mess. Why do you want to hire that? Oh, because you know why? Because you're lazy. You don't want to have to deal with it yourself. You don't want to take the time to spend time in that department, asking tough questions, being the driver of the department. You don't want it, so you're lazy. I'm sorry, but you are if you have that mindset. But look, you're also lazy if you don't put somebody in charge of it. And you might say, well, I can't afford it. Well, how can you not afford it? Hey, a shameless plug coming up here. Look, I can do Zoom training for you. I can come to your store and train your entire management team. And you might want to consider that if you're trying to get your used car operation up and running. I'm Tommy Gibbs. If I can help you, please reach out. But hire a damn used car manager and quit screwing around. I'll see you later. Thank you. Bye.